You found the land. You paid for it. Free and clear, your name on the deed, and the plan was simple. Park the camper, live cheap, build slow. Then comes a knock on the door. Somebody reads you a code, and just like that, you can't sleep on the dirt you own. The worst part? You did nothing wrong. You just never checked the one rule that decides all of this. Here's the thing almost nobody tells you before they buy. Owning the dirt and being allowed to live on it are two completely different permissions. The deed says the land is yours. It does not say what you're allowed to do on it. That second question, what you can actually do, is decided by zoning. And in the United States, zoning is almost always local. The state might be fine with it. Your county can still say no. And inside that county, the rules can flip depending on whether you're in city limits or out in the unincorporated part. So when people check the deed, glance at the HOA, and call it good, they're checking the wrong document. The deed protects your ownership. It says nothing about whether you can turn that camper into a home. A recreational vehicle, in the eyes of most local governments, was never built to be lived in full-time. It's classified for recreation, camping, travel, weekends, not as permanent housing. That single classification is the seed of every problem you're about to run into. It's why your land can be yours, completely, and you still can't legally sleep in your own RV on it. Once you understand that split, ownership in one hand, permission to live in the other, the rest of this starts to make sense. And it explains why so many people get blindsided. Now let's get specific, because this is where the rule actually lives. There are 3 different things you can do with an RV on a piece of land, and the law treats each one differently. You can park it, you can store it, or you can occupy it, meaning you live, sleep, and cook in it. Parking and storing are usually the easy part. Most places let you keep an RV on your property, sometimes with limits on size or where it sits. Occupying is the regulated act. The moment that camper becomes the place you sleep every night, you've crossed from storage into dwelling, and dwelling is exactly what the ordinance is written to control. In Portland, for example, an occupied RV isn't even allowed on an undeveloped lot. It has to sit next to an actual house. In one Georgia county, using an RV as a permanent residence is flat out prohibited in almost every zone. Read those codes closely and you'll notice they never say you can't own the RV. They say you can't live in it. That's the distinction that trips everyone up. People hear, you can have your RV here, and assume that means they can live in it. It doesn't. One word, occupy, is the whole ball game, and it's the word almost no one asks about before they sign. This is also why unrestricted land, no HOA fools so many buyers. You see those words in a listing and your shoulders drop. Finally, freedom. No board telling you what color to paint the mailbox. But unrestricted is a real estate term, not a legal force field. It usually means there are no private deed covenants and no homeowners association layering rules on top. It does not mean the county has no say. The county's zoning and occupancy ordinances still apply to every acre, HOA, or not. So you can buy the most wide open, unrestricted, middle of nowhere parcel in the state and still get a violation notice for living in your camper on it. The HOA was never the thing that was going to remove you. People obsess over HOAs because HOAs are loud and easy to read. The county ordinance is quiet, buried in a land development code, and it's the one with actual teeth. The biggest mistake land buyers make is assuming that because they hold the deed, they can do whatever they want with the dirt. Unrestricted land lowers your guard at the exact moment you should be raising it. Because nothing in that listing is going to tell you the single question that actually matters. And most buyers never think to ask it until it's far too late. So if the rule is that strict, why do you see RVs parked on rural land everywhere? People clearly living in them year after year, no problem. Here's the part nobody warns you about. Most of these ordinances are complaint-driven. The county isn't out patrolling back roads looking for campers. An inspector usually doesn't show up until someone calls us. Portland says it plainly, enforcement is complaint-driven. Other counties admit they don't cite anyone unless a complaint comes in. Some towns run a literal hotline for neighbors to report you. That's the trap. You can live quietly for months, even years, convinced you got away with it because nobody's looking. Then one neighbor gets annoyed about the view, the noise, a property line, anything, and makes one phone call. Now the inspector has no choice. Once it's reported, they have to enforce it, whether they personally care or not. People who've lost this fight will tell you the same thing. It only takes one person to complain, and then it's somebody's job to make you move. So the camper down the road that's been there for 3 years isn't proof that it's legal. It's proof that nobody's complained yet. Those are not the same thing, and betting your home on the difference is how people end up scrambling. Let's say you do everything by the book and ask. You'll usually run into one of two catches. The first is a clock. A lot of counties let you occupy an RV, but only for a set number of days. 9 and 14 days in a calendar year shows up again and again in the codes. Stay longer than that without a permit, and you're in violation. The second catch is harder, the dwelling first rule. Plenty of places will only let you live in the RV while you're actively building a real house. And some won't let the camper touch the property until a legal dwelling already exists. One Florida county rewrote its land development code in 2024 and stopped allowing RVs on vacant lots entirely. Now there has to be a permitted dwelling on the parcel first. That single rule wrecks the classic plan. You know the one. Buy raw land, move the camper on, live in it cheap while you slowly build. In a dwelling first county, that order is illegal. You can't live there until the house exists, but you wanted to live there so you could afford to build the house. It's a chicken and egg loop, and people walk straight into it because the listing said the land was buildable. Buildable and livable right now are two very different promises. And when buyers hit that wall, this is where the anger kicks in. If you've spent any time in the comments on videos like this, you've heard the theory. They ban RV living so they can force you to build a house and tax you more. And look, there's a grain of truth in there. A finished house is worth more, and a more valuable property does generate more tax. Local governments do prefer permitted, inspected, code-compliant housing. But the rule that actually gets enforced against you isn't a secret tax scheme. It's the Occupancy and Health Code, the same reason they care about septic and safe wiring. Treating it as pure greed feels good, but it won't help you when the notice arrives, because you can't argue your way out of an ordinance with a conspiracy. The other thing you'll hear is the workaround. I'm not living here, officer. I'm just camping. People try it constantly. It has a ceiling. Camping is exactly what those day limits are written to cap: 14 days, 30 days, whatever your county allows. Cross the line and camping becomes dwelling no matter what you call it. One landowner did everything right, even prepped a gravel pad, and still got told he couldn't live in his RV, then got a second letter saying he couldn't even store it because it was too long. Calling it camping didn't save him. The label isn't the law. So what actually works? The answer is almost the opposite of what people try. Instead of hiding the RV and hoping nobody calls, you make the land legal underneath it. In most places, the path looks like this. You improve the property, you pull a permit, you put in an approved septic system, and you drop a power pedestal or hook up the county will sign off on. Once those pieces exist, a lot of counties will issue what's essentially an RV occupancy or temporary dwelling permit, and now your camper is allowed there on paper. In one Arizona county, you can get an actual RV dwelling permit. The RV becomes a legal residence once it's tied to an approved on-site wastewater system, and they decide on the application within about 30 days. That's the difference between living in fear of a phone call and living there with a permit number on file. Notice what isn't on this path: the shed. People love the idea of throwing up a cheap shed and living in that, or living in the camper next to it. But sheds, storage buildings, shipping containers, most codes specifically say those aren't built for people to live in. A storage structure is not a dwelling. The legal version costs more upfront. Septic isn't cheap, but it's the only version nobody can take away from you. And yes, there are places that say yes. This isn't hopeless, it's just specific. Oregon passed a law that took effect at the start of 2024, letting homeowners keep an occupied RV on their property. Texas zoning generally allows it, as long as your RV is registered and passes inspection. Florida allows full-time RV living, but with catches, usually one RV per parcel, parked behind or beside the house, and the details change county by county. On the other side, states like Hawaii, parts of Indiana and Michigan, and much of New Hampshire make permanent RV living on private land nearly impossible outside a licensed park. But here's the catch that matters more than any state list. This is almost never decided at the state level. It's decided by your county, and sometimes by whether your exact parcel sits inside city limits or out in the unincorporated county. Two pieces of land an hour apart, same state, can have completely opposite answers, which is why every state-by-state list you find online, including the nice clean one you were hoping would settle this, can only ever be a starting point. It tells you the weather. It does not tell you what's legal on your specific acre. For that, there's only one move left, and it's the move almost nobody makes first. Before you buy, not after, before, you call the county planning and zoning office for that exact parcel, and you ask the right question. Not can I park an RV here, because they'll say yes and you'll hear what you want to hear. You ask, can I legally live in an RV on this property, for how long, and what has to be in place first? Then you ask the follow-ups that catch people. Do I need a permit, and does it renew every year? Is there a dwelling first rule? How many RVs am I allowed per parcel? Are there easements that would stop me from building or putting in septic? And whatever they tell you, get it in writing, a name, an email, a code section, because staff change and rules change, especially after a disaster when a county suddenly rewrites everything. That one phone call before money changes hands is the rule almost nobody checks first. It's not exciting. It's a boring call to a government office about an ordinance number. But it's the single thing standing between owning your freedom and owning a very expensive problem with a violation notice taped to the door. The people who get kicked off their own land almost always skipped it. The people who never get that knock made the call first. Buying land soon? Subscribe before you sign. The next one could save your whole plan.